Okay, we're doing a continuation from the story of David and Goliath. Yesterday, I made a video talking about Goliath and how his brother was mocking him for his faith when he was about to go fight Goliath, because he felt like, what do you think you're doing? You small, you only got this sling and a rock. So I wanted to go further into Goliath, what he said, how he was challenging the children of God, how he had all the children of God in fear, and how it took one person to say, oh no, do you know what I've been doing? Do you know what kind of lions and stuff I had to fight off while I was a little shepherd boy to y'all? Let's bring it on. Let's get into it. Okay. So we're going to go to 1 Samuel 17, and we're going to start at the fourth verse. I'm going to see if I can put the camera. Okay. And it says, the Philistines were standing on the mountain on the side, and Israel was standing on the mountain on the other side. So the Philistines was on one side. The Israelites was on the people of Israel was on the other side. And with the valley, but so they had a valley between them. Then a champion came out from the camp of the Philistines. So Goliath came out from their side. So the champion came out from the camp of the Philistines named Goliath, who was 6 cubits in a span. So they say Goliath was like 10 feet. Then he had a bronze helmet on his head, and he wore a coat of scale armor, which was like overlapping metal plates. And they weighed the same pounds as like 5,000 shekels of bronze. He had bronze shin protectors on his legs, and a bronze javelin hung between his shoulders. The wooden shaft on his spear was like a weaver's beam. The blade head of his spear weighed 600 shekels of iron. Woo! And the shield bearer walked in front of him. Goliath stood up and shouted to the battle lines of Israel. So now he challenging the people of God. That's what the devil do. He challenges the people of God still, just like he challenged our father. They challenge us down here. So Goliath, he think he lit. You know what I'm saying? I'm big. I got all this armor, everything heavy. He was known for what he did. So Goliath stood and shouted to the battle lines of Israel, saying, why have you come out to draw up for battle? Like, why would you come here? He's saying. And am I not the Philistine? And you are not servants of Saul? He's saying, I'm a Philistine, y'all Israels. Why would you come here? Choose a man for yourselves and have him come down to me. So pick one of y'all guys and tell him to come see me, right? Let's fight like back in the day. It's crazy. This is back in the day. And Goliath said, if he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will become your servants. So here's the devil's people talking about, yeah, if y'all could kill us, then we'll become servants of you guys, right? But if I prevail, Goliath said, against him and kill him, then you shall become the servants and the servants of us. Do you think the Lord is finna let that happen? Do you think he's going to let the children of the God of his children with the faith that we have become servants if we put in our faith in the Lord? Come on, let's go, because I only got 6 more minutes. Again, the Philistine said, I defy the battle lines of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. And when Saul and all Israel heard these words of Philistine, they was dismayed and greatly afraid. So they like, get him a man. Ain't none of us finna stand up against no Goliath. He 10 feet tall. He got all his armor, his spear. His javelin weighs more than our entire body. We're not finna come. Who? Oh, the Lord always got somebody put aside. Now, David was the son of the Ethrite, I don't know if I'm saying that right, of Bethlehem in Judah, named Jesse, who had 8 sons. Jesse was old in the days of Saul and advanced in the years among men. His 3 older sons had followed Saul into battle. I'm going to skip down. David was the youngest son. Now the 3 oldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to tend to his father's flock at Bethlehem. So David was already used to fighting things. David lived in the wilderness. He was a shepherd boy. He had to fight all kinds of things coming at his sheep and lions and stuff like that. David was already had faith in God, and he was using that same faith to protect the sheep, his father's flock. I want to skip down. I want to get to the good part. So David, we're going to verse 20. David accepts the challenge. Okay. So David got up early in the morning, left the flock with a keeper, picked up the provisions, and went just as Jesse has directed him. And he came to the encampment as the army was going out in battle formation, shouting the battle cry. Israel and the Philistines drew up in battle formation against army, right? Then David left his provision in the care of the supply keeper and ran to the ranks and came to greet his brothers. As he was talking with them, behold, the champion Goliath was coming up from the army of the Philistines, and he spoke the same words again, and David heard him. So David heard him challenge the people of God. Now David's like, what he say about my father? People, what did he say? Bro, David getting mad now. I got 3 minutes. David getting mad now. So as he heard Goliath say what he said, when the men of Israel all saw the men, they fled from him and were frightened. So everybody ran from Goliath and his people. Then the men of Israel said, have you seen the man who is coming up? Surely he is coming up to defy Israel. The king will reward the man who kills him with great riches and will give him a daughter in marriage and make his father's house free from taxes in Israel. So here's David's reward. If whoever killed Goliath, you're going to be rich. You're going to get to marry the king's daughter. You're going to be tax free, blah, 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 right? So David spoke to the men who were standing by him and said, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes the grace? David already had the faith of God. He said, what's going to happen to what I'm going to get if I do that? Come on. And the men told him that this will be done for the man who kills him. As far as what I told y'all, it's like what he'll get and stuff like that. So now his older brother, that's when he mocks him and says to him, why have you come down here? He even wanted to know, like, why did you lead the sheep and come over here, David? Why did you even come down here? Like, bro, he's like, why did you come down here? And then David turned away from his brother Eliab to someone else and asked the same question. And somebody else asked David, why is you here? What you think you finna do? That's like when you see a tiny little person and you want to know what they finna do. This going to have to be longer than 10 minutes. I'm going to have to break this up in parts. If y'all watch this video, look out for the next one because this is going to have to be broken up. I can't rush the word. So then David turned away from his brother Eliab to someone else and asked the same question. And the people gave him the same answer at first. So when the words that David spoke were heard, the men reported them to Saul, and he sent for him. Wait, I skipped a part because David said, for who is the uncircumcised Philistine that he has taunted and defied the armies of the living God? Who is the uncircumcised Philistine? Back then, if you was uncircumcised, you were not considered a child of God. So, all right, boom. So when the words of David said to Saul, let no man courage fail because of him, Goliath. So he said to Saul, yo, don't let your courage fail because of Goliath. Don't be scared of Goliath. Don't lose your faith in God because of this giant. Your servant will go out and fight with the Philistine. He said, I'll do it. Your servant will go out and do it. I said to David, you are not able to go against this Philistine to fight him, for you are only a young man, and he has been a warrior since his youth. See how people think? You a kid. You a young man. He been doing this for years. How you think you finna? Because God is our Father. He's powerful. He uses anybody he want to use. Okay. So, um, so Saul, like, yeah, you're not going to be able to do it. He been fighting since he was little. But David said to Saul, your servant was a tender of his father's sheep. He's saying, I was a tender of my father's sheep. And when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock, he said, let me tell you something real quick, Saul. You telling me that I can't fight this guy because I ain't got no experience. Let me run my resume down to you real quick. Let me tell you, when I was tending my father's sheep, when a lion and a bear came and took one of my lambs out of my flock, I went out after it and attacked it and rescued the lamb from its mouth. David said he went and fought a lion and a bear. Who is Goliath? Who is this giant that's scaring God's people? I went to fight a beast. David was fire. He don't have fear. I went out after it and I attacked it and I rescued the lamb. So not only did he rescued the lamb from its mouth, from the lion and the bear's mouth. And when it rose up against me, I seized it by its whiskers and struck and killed it. See, David was small and short and quick. And he think quick, I'll get him. He snatched the, and plus it wasn't David, his faith. His faith made this happen. He believed all power was in his hands from Christ. That God, the same God that knocked down the walls of Jericho, was still with him. Your servant was killed both the lion and the bear. He said, your servant killed both the lion and the bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, since he has taunted and defied the armies of the living God. God people don't play about him. I don't care. We don't play about God. We don't play about him. We're not scared of death. We're not scared of the things that could kill the body and can't kill the soul. We're not scared of nothing. We are here to stand for Christ like they did back in 1 Samuel. The people who are like David, the people who are like, yes, what did you say? Oh, no, we're going hard. We're not scared to stand up because we know who is actually fighting our battles for us. Let's go. So David said, the Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear. We don't serve no any old kind of God. Our God can rescue us from the paw of a lion and the paw of a bear. He rescued David from the paw of a lion and from the paw of a bear. He will rescue me from the hands of this Philistine. And Saul said to David, so Saul said, okay, well, go and may the Lord be with you. May God be with you. What y'all say in the South when y'all trying to be rude? Bless your heart, basically. So Saul dressed David in his garments and put a bronze helmet on his head, and put a coat of mail on him. So now he fixing David up. Then David fastened his sword over his armor and tried to walk, but he could not walk. David had all this stuff. Why you got me dressed up in all this stuff? So David, he couldn't walk. He had on all this stuff. And David said to Saul, I cannot go out with these because I am not used to them. David said, I'm used to being by myself in the wilderness. I'm used to fighting lions and bears with none of this stuff on. I don't need this stuff. I have the power of the Lord with me. I don't need this stuff. So David took it off. Then I'm gonna have to speed it up, y'all. Then he took it off. He took off his shepherd's staff. He took his shepherd's staff in his hand and he chose himself 5 smooth stones out of the stream bed. So David said, I just need my staff and I'll give me like 5 stones because I'm finna sling and rock him. I'm finna rock Goliath's snot box. So, Then he took, all right, so he got the 5 stones and he, with his sling in his hand, he approached Goliath. Y'all remember watching a fight back in the day. This is a big old giant, and I don't know how tall David was, but you heard Saul tell him, you a young man, what you got going on, right? So he approached him. And when when Goliath looked and saw David, he derided and disparaged him because he was just a young man with a ruddy complexion and a handsome appearance. The Philistine said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with a shepherd's staff? And the Philistine cursed David by his God. Wrong thing to do. The Philistine also said to David, come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the sky and the beasts of the field. Yeah, we'll see. Then David said to the Philistine, you come to me with a sword, a spear, and a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. You come to me with the sword and a spear and a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. And the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have taunted. This day the Lord will hand you over to me, and I will strike you down and cut off your head, and I will give your corpses of the army of the Philistines this day to the birds of the sky and the wild beasts of the earth, so that all the earth may know there is a God in Israel. And the entire assembly may know that the Lord does not save with the sword or with the spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will hand you over to us. So I'm going to skip. We all know when the Philistine rose and came forward to meet David, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. David put his hand into his bag. He took out a stone and he slung it, and it struck Goliath on his forehead. The stone penetrated in his forehead, and he fell down on his face to the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine Goliath with a sling and a stone, and he struck down the Philistine and killed him, but there was no sword in David's hand. So he ran and stood over the Philistine, over Goliath, and grabs his word and drew it out. So while we're in this world, we got to have the same kind of faith that David had. David said he ain't want no breastplates and armor and all of this stuff to go fight this big old 10 feet giant. That's a human. I don't want us to misunderstand that the Goliath is not like a green alien looking thing. He was an actual human giant. Probably one of the fallen angels' kids or something like that. In this world, we need to make sure we remember the kind of God we serve, and the same power that he had when David had that sling and that stone penetrated the giant forehead. That's the same God we serve. And we're here to prove that God of Israel is still alive and never will not be.